What's up, everyone? So I was watching First Take on ESPN this morning, and Stephen A. Smith, along with the entire panel, had this really interesting segment breaking down Dalton Knecht's situation with the Los Angeles Lakers. The discussion centered around how Knecht is in a very interesting position this NBA season because he's going to get some real playing time, at least to start the season, with LeBron James being out with injury. The expectation is Knecht will get opportunities playing both the 2 and the 3 positions. Without LeBron in the lineup, Rui Hachimura will slot more at the 4, which means there will be more minutes available at the 3 for Knecht to earn. JJ Redick himself has even said publicly that it's not really so much about the offense with Knecht, it's about how well does he buy in defensively and commit on that end of the floor. Everyone knows Knecht can score the basketball. We've all seen that ability. Last season, viewers saw him absolutely explode on several occasions, going off for 37 or 40 points, having 30-point games and 25-point games. Everyone knows all it takes is one hot shooting night to get him going. And then, all of a sudden, it's a snowball effect, where his confidence returns. Speaking of hot streaks and snowball effects, you know what else works that way? That like button and subscribe button below this video. All it takes is one click to get the momentum going, and suddenly the algorithm starts going off for 30, 40, maybe even 50,000 views. Unlike Knecht's shooting slump, this is a shot you literally can't miss. It takes 1 second, there's no defense to beat, and I promise there won't be any trade rumors about you after you hit it. So commit on both ends here. Give me that like and that subscription. JJ Redick would be proud of that defensive effort. He's had his offensive struggles this season, though. The panel's opinion is that Knecht hasn't been the same player mentally since the trade rumors and speculation surrounding him. They think because of all that trade talk, it has caused him to completely check out mentally in a lot of ways. But Stephen A. made the point that at some point Knecht has got to get over it and move forward. Everyone wants players to just be tough and power through adversity, but that's genuinely hard for anybody to deal with emotionally. The panel referenced how Lamar Odom had a similar situation happen to him, and his entire life collapsed because of the emotional toll. It's just not as easy as it sounds to compartmentalize. We all want athletes to be robots who just power through any situation, but not everybody is built that way psychologically. Dalton Knecht went from thinking he was the Lakers guy, and there was all this excitement around his potential, to now being in trade rumors and feeling like the organization is ready to ship him out. Now he has to come back and play for them. It's an incredibly weird spot for anybody to be in mentally. Most players have the ability to say, "Okay, you don't want me, get me out of here and move on." Stephen A. brought up how some people say Knecht is too mentally weak to handle this. But he asked, is Luka Doncic weak when he was crying his eyes out because Dallas traded him? Should Luka not have been emotional about that? Should he have just bucked up and toughened up? Luka went out and balled out eventually, but he still had his emotions and struggles processing that trade. To the panel, it's not a sign of weakness. It's just that everybody's different in how they handle adversity. But at some point, if you're Dalton Knecht, you have to get over it mentally. Otherwise, you're going to be out of the NBA league entirely. The analysts' hope is that Knecht will have a good shooting night, some random game where he just goes off because he's fundamentally a shooter. There's going to be a night where he just has the touch and everything falls. It doesn't matter how many bad games he has in a row. He could have 100 bad games, and even the worst players in the league on a random night can go get 20 points. Dalton Knecht is going to have that kind of breakout night eventually. The hope is that explosive performance becomes the thing that gets him going mentally. Maybe he has a night where he's 6 or 7 from 3-point range, and while nobody expects him to shoot 6 for 7 every night, maybe it builds his confidence back up. Maybe he hits a game winner or something and thinks, yeah, okay, we're back, baby. And that instills real confidence. The panel does appreciate JJ Redick sticking with Knecht. He played the most minutes in the last game, as JJ is clearly trying to get him woken up and back to being active and involved. We'll see if Redick is able to finally wake Knecht up from this mental funk he's been in. The reason the show was discussing Dalton Knecht specifically is because the Lakers just picked up his team option through the 2026-27 season. The Los Angeles Lakers exercised his $4.2 million option for that season, so they've officially picked up his contract extension. The panel didn't expect the Lakers not to do this. Knecht is still valued by the organization as a guy who at any point could turn it around, or at least they're hoping he can turn it around at some point. Also, he's a valuable trade chip, whether it's just as salary filler or because there's always going to be that team around the league that thinks they can fix him and get more out of him. The analyst has talked about how he thinks Dalton Knecht genuinely needs a change of scenery at this point. He really hopes Knecht figures it out and turns things around with the Lakers. He'd love to see Knecht bounce back, figure out his mental approach, become a key fixture for this team, and retire as a Laker. He'd love for Knecht to become a legitimate two-way wing player. Knecht has the physical tools. He's got the size, the athleticism. You can make a genuine argument that Knecht is actually a better fit alongside Luka Doncic than even Austin Reeves because of Knecht's off-ball ability, his ability to be a three-level scorer, and his shooting capability. The problem is, Knecht is also more athletic than Reeves, and bigger physically, so he's a bigger, more athletic, better pure shooting player than Austin Reeves. Now, Austin Reeves is a better playmaker and more crafty with the ball, all that stuff. But Knecht is only in year 2 of his career. If he can project and become close to what the theoretical ceiling of him can be, then he's exactly what this Lakers team needs long-term. But the reality, according to the panel, is there's been enough sample size and enough time to evaluate, and Knecht hasn't shown any real signs of bouncing back mentally. At this point, it just feels like the best option is trading him for his own sake. If you're a Dalton Knecht fan, you should genuinely be hoping the Lakers trade him for his benefit at this stage. The analyst fully expects at this point that if Knecht goes to the right situation, he'll suddenly average 15 points per game, and everyone will say, "Oh, look what the Lakers did wrong. They let another young talent go." That entire narrative and conversation will begin about how the Lakers mishandled another prospect. It'll be Alex Caruso all over again, with people criticizing the Lakers' development. The analyst almost expects that to happen at this point, but it's kind of like the Luka Doncic situation with Dallas. Not saying Knecht is Luka, obviously, but Dallas's stated reason for trading Luka was that essentially he got too comfortable in Dallas. He was out of shape, overweight, and just not fully committed to the game of basketball at that point. Dallas had this major concern about a flaw they believed Luka would not overcome while he remained with Dallas. Then Dallas trades Luka to the Lakers, and everybody, the analyst included, all predicted that Dallas just guaranteed Luka was going to be the opposite of what they feared. Dallas just guaranteed that Luka Doncic would get in shape, become the best version of himself, and be hungrier and more motivated than he's ever been in his entire career. If Luka had stayed with Dallas, it's very likely he ends up being all the negative things Dallas was worried about. If we could see an alternate timeline where Luka stays in Dallas, there's a very big possibility the timeline shows Luka becoming exactly what Dallas feared he would become. The moment Dallas traded him to the Lakers, that changed everything, and guaranteed we'd get the elite version of Luka we have now. The panel looks at the Dalton Knecht situation very similarly. The Lakers are trying everything to their credit. They're trying to get Dalton Knecht back on track mentally. He's played more minutes than anybody. He's gotten more shot attempts than anybody. The Lakers did everything they could in preseason to get him going offensively. So, to the Lakers' credit, they've genuinely tried. There are no doubts or ifs about whether they've attempted to get Dalton Knecht back on track. But the panel thinks it's one of those situations where the Lakers have a serious mental block with Knecht that won't be resolved unless he's traded to another organization. But the moment Knecht gets traded, all those mental issues will dissipate. It might take a little while, but it'll eventually be gone, just like Luka took some time to get to where he is now. Then you'll see that version of Dalton Knecht that everyone hoped for when he was drafted. And everyone will criticize the Lakers, saying, "Oh, look, it's because you basically snapped Dalton out of his funk by trading him." But that's what Dalton needs at this point. according to the First Take analysis. Stephen A. emphasized he never wants to root for the failure of Lakers players. Doesn't matter who it is. With Russell Westbrook, he had hope, even though he didn't know if it would work. With every player the Lakers have brought in, as bad as situations have been, why would he want to root for the failure of somebody on his favorite team? He can be honest about situations and say he doesn't think something will work, but that doesn't mean he's actively rooting for failure or feeling accomplished, because he was right that somebody struggled. The analyst hates when he has to admit he was right about a player not working out. He won't be happy if he has to do a segment saying the Lakers traded Dalton Knecht, and now he's back to being the player everyone thought he'd become. Because the better guys perform on the Lakers, the better the Lakers are as a team. If Dalton Knecht becomes a 15-point-per-game scorer who shoots 45% from three-point range and plays really good defense while becoming the starting three, guess what? The Lakers might become legitimate contenders and could win an NBA championship because of his floor spacing, shooting, and defensive ability given his size, length, and athleticism. He could solve a lot of problems for this team if he reaches his potential. But the panel just doesn't know if Knecht is going to mentally check back in enough for the Lakers to benefit from that potential. That's the core problem and dilemma. The Lakers exercising his team option made all the sense in the world. Everyone knew that was coming. The Lakers weren't just going to cut Dalton Knecht or let him walk in free agency, because there's always going to be some team that thinks they can develop him better. If Lakers fans see the situation with Knecht, other teams around the league see it too. That doesn't mean the Lakers will get the trade value they want for Knecht, but there's always a team that will take him thinking they can unlock his potential. The best-case scenario, in the analyst's opinion, is that Dalton Knecht is essentially playing to get traded at this point. Unless Knecht becomes like the third-best player on this Lakers team, which seems unlikely, he's probably going to be moved. Even if he plays at an all-star level, they might still trade him while his value is high. If Knecht wakes up against the Warriors and goes on like a 15-game run playing great basketball, the Lakers will probably get his trade value as high as possible, then quickly move him before he potentially fades back to struggling. They won't want to risk his value dropping again. That's probably also part of why Dalton Knecht isn't playing well currently. He probably knows deep down mentally that the moment he starts playing really good, the Lakers are going to trade him again. The analyst isn't saying Knecht is deliberately playing poorly, but it's probably a subconscious thing where he knows he's just playing to eventually get traded anyway. So why fully invest emotionally? So that was the full First Take breakdown of the Lakers picking up Dalton Knecht's team option and whether trading him would actually be the best move for everyone involved at this point.